What if growth wasn't about achieving perfection, but about participating in something infinitely alive? Imagine for a moment that the struggles you face, the questions that haunt you, and even the breakthroughs you celebrate, that they aren't individual fragments, but threads in a living, breathing system of transformation. What might change if you saw yourself not as working alone, but as part of an interconnected process of life and growth? I'm Mark Roach. Welcome to Transcendent, where we peel back the layers of performance and explore what's real, what's human, and what's deeply authentic. My perspective is rooted in a life lived at the extremes, shaped by wide-ranging experiences with mystics, healers, and thinkers whose insights have completely changed the way that I live and see the world, not to mention some pretty profound experiences. Today, we're exploring Maurice Nicoll's concept of the work as a living system from his Psychological Commentaries, Volume 4, specifically a group meeting that he had on August 26, 1950. Nicoll, a student of Carl Jung, Peter Ouspensky, and George Gurdjieff, weaves profound observations into his teaching that continues to resonate with the core of what it means to grow, what it means to interact and evolve spiritually. The foundation of this idea begins with how Nicoll describes the work. He doesn't see it as a course to complete or a fixed path to follow, but as something alive. When Nicoll calls the work a living system, he's inviting us to understand that personal transformation isn't static or formulaic. It's fluid, adaptable, and dynamic as life itself. The forces that move us toward growth don't operate in isolation. They're part of an interdependent reality shaped by our relationships, inner states, and the energies we allow in our lives. At its heart, the work is a collaborative effort. Nicoll repeatedly emphasizes that no one can evolve entirely alone. Even though inner work often feels deeply personal, it relies on the tension and harmony between you and others inspired by similar aims. This collective energy is what gives the work its living quality. When you share experiences, exchange ideas, and support others in their struggles, you strengthen and expand the system itself. But what makes it alive? Well, Nicoll points to the responsiveness. Like an ecosystem, the work reacts to what you put into it. Think of how a garden responds to care and intention. The soil, the water, the sunlight, even the seeds themselves change with effort and attention. Similarly, the work adapts to how much you're willing to engage emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. When you approach it with sincerity, curiosity, and perseverance, the lessons and insights deepen, almost as if the system is responding to your effort. Nicoll draws heavily from Gurdjieff's teaching, where Gurdjieff describes the work as a form of conscious labor. That might sound a little heavy, but it's not punishment. It's about the effort required to wake up, to see ourselves clearly without the numbing distraction of day-to-day life. To be part of a living system, you must actively participate. Stagnation occurs when you fall into patterns of inaction or mechanical thinking where life happens to you rather than through you. One of Nicoll's most striking ideas is that the work itself evolves as humanity evolves. The challenges we face today may differ in form from those of a people a century ago, but the underlying dynamics are universal. The work lives through its ability to adapt to these shifts while staying rooted in timeless principles. The ability to balance change and constancy mirrors the very process of growth in individuals. To grow doesn't mean abandoning the core of who you are. It's about discovering new ways to express and live your essence. A practical application of this idea comes when Nicoll describes the importance of recognizing the food that you offer the work. Just like a living organism, what you feed the system determines how it grows. Nicoll identifies 3 levels of nourishment essential for any spiritual system to thrive. First, there is nourishment of knowledge, studying ideas that challenge and expand your understanding of the human experience. Second is the emotional engagement or emanations that you bring to the work. This includes your sincerity, your struggles, and the way your emotions contribute to the collective field of learning and transformation. And last is the nourishment of action. Passive understanding alone isn't enough. It's through applying what you learn and that growth becomes tangible, both for you and for the system. Interestingly, the work's adaptive nature means it thrives on differences as well as harmony. Nicoll speaks about how challenges, resistance, and even opposing energies all serve a role in a living system. Conflict, rather than being something to eliminate, often adds a catalyst for deeper understanding. Gurdjieff summarizes beautifully in his teachings about friction being necessary in the process of awakening. The tension created by our differences with others or within ourselves generates the heat needed for transformation. Without this, there's stagnancy and complacency. This brings us back to the interpersonal nature of the work. It's not only about self-discovery, about supplementing and enhancing others' journeys. We grow in the mirrors others hold up to us. And by playing with that role for others in return, just like a forest thrives not just because each tree stands isolated, but because its roots connect a complex underground network, our growth depends on our ability to contribute and draw from the living field around us. What I find most fascinating in Nicoll's teaching is the idea that the work is not limited by place or time. This living system is not confined to studying text or gathering in groups. It extends into every element of life. A difficult conversation, an act of compassion, or a moment of reflection all become opportunities to nurture and be nurtured by the system. But Nicoll also warns us not to mistake the external organization or structure of the work as a living system, because the living system itself, institutions or traditions, may act as vessels, but they are not the essence. The true work, Nicoll insists, remains a deeply personal and inward process, one that transcends dogma or rigid frameworks. It's about alignment with yourself, with others, and the deeper forces that flow through all existence. If there's one core message to take away, it's this: the work is not something you finish. It's not a project to complete. It's a way of living, a relationship you cultivate with yourself and the world around you. When you participate in a living system, you're not just transforming yourself, you're contributing to something far larger, something timeless and collective. I hope these reflections on the work resonate with you and offer a lens to see your own growth. See it as part of a greater living whole. This perspective has shifted so much for me and continues to shape how I approach not just challenges, but the moments in between where life feels quite yet profoundly alive. I'm Mark Roach. This is Transcendent, wishing you all the best.